Welcome to Anglesey, where the sun is trying to break through the clouds, for the cars are getting out ready for the electrovape.co.uk XR Challenge. Cars are prepared to go out onto the track. It's over to Andy McEwen to take you through the grid.
Thanks very much, Lloyd. The first of the races we'll be showing you this weekend from this Anglesey 25th anniversary meeting. Here's how they line up. It is multiple champion Michael Heath on pole position, alongside Mark Robinson, the championship leader, on the front row. Justin Roberts and Michael Blackburn on row 2, with Greg Spate second place in the points going into this race, alongside Steve Poole on the third row. Row 4 for Lee Shropshire and Tony Mumford. Row 5, Matthew Eldridge and Peter Futers. Back row of the grid is where we find Matthew Spencer and Christopher Rowlands. But a real fan favourite championship this. Takes up residence here at Anglesey and also at Alton Park, only an hour and a half drive further north. And this is the first race of the weekend. So it's the black and red car on the inside, Michael Heath on pole position. The blue car with the white stripes is the championship leader, Mark Robinson. Away we go. Good start made further back by Greg Spate, look, as he makes a place at the expense of the white car of Justin Roberts. But as they head through the first corner at target, it is wheel to wheel between the top two. It's Michael Heath in the red and black car. The blue car, Mark Robinson, has the inside line for the banking, but the momentum tends to be around the outside here on the exit of the corner. So can Heath use that to wrest the lead back away from him on the run down towards Church Corner? Yes, he can. So Heath goes through into the lead, Robinson into second place, now into Church Corner, this quickest corner on the track. Very daunting indeed. Get a wheel out onto the grass there, and that could be the end of your race, but they're all through safely and out onto the school straight, which is anything but straight. You can see it's got these two distinct kinks in it. The first one there, and then a slightly sharper one just here, and then you're onto the brakes, steeply uphill into Rocket. And Mark Robinson having a look round the outside of Michael Heath here. He's trying to go right round the outside of the left-hander to get the inside for the right-hander, but he couldn't quite get there. So it's still Heath from Robinson. Michael Blackburn there in third, and fourth place for Greg Spate. This championship is open to Ford Fiesta XR2s and Escort XR3s, some real 80s pocket rockets, and it is the third place car, Michael Blackburn, that is the lead XR3 both in this race and in the championship. Down through the corkscrew complex we go now. The car's rocking on the suspension as they plunge down, several stories worth of elevation change there, and then into the final corner along the pit straight. And it is a 5-car breakaway at the moment by the looks of it, because Steve Poole in the green car is just about tagging along with the leaders. Back through they go. Heath from Blackburn, who's in typical XR2 fashion, is up on 3 wheels going through the first corner. This is the real battle, though, isn't it, at the moment, for third place between Michael Blackburn and Greg Spate. Greg Spate, who is running second place in the points, didn't have a great qualifying, started down in 5th. Well, he's picked one place up already at the expense of Justin Roberts off the line. He's now trying to get himself into an overall podium position. Now, passing Michael Blackburn won't give him any more championship points, because you score points within your class, but it will at least get him a bit closer to the overall top 2, and they are running within his class. So he is very keen to get after them before they start breaking away, which they're already starting to do. On board here with Greg Spate, hard on the brakes in towards Rocket. Up front we can see the leaders dicing away again, as well as Mark Robinson is doing everything he can to prise the door open and find a way past Michael Heath, but for the second lap in succession he's unable to find a way through. Up at the top of the hill we're now into this very tricky right-hander at Peel Corner, very off camber, and you come over the crest of a hill just there on the exit. The car goes light, wants to understeer out wide to the edge of the track, and then into the roller coaster section, plunging downhill all the way now from here to the start finish line. Greg Spate again up on 3 wheels momentarily there. He's got quite a bit of pressure from Steve Poole. It looks like Lee Shropshire is leading the next little battle ahead of Tony Mumford, so good battling up and down the order past the state-of-the-art pit complex here at Anglesey, built as part of a decade or so ago now. As sideways there for the man in second place, Mark Robinson. That was very close to disaster through what is almost a flat-out first corner in these cars. They don't really do much braking for target, that first left-hander. So if you do misjudge your entry speed or your line on the entry, very easy to end up on the grass and having a fairly sizable moment. Luckily, Mark Robinson preserves his car, preserves his second place, and therefore preserves his championship lead, but he's dropped back a little bit now from the race leader Michael Heath, hasn't he, who hasn't contested a full season in this championship for the last few years, but he tends to come back out for the Anglesey rounds. Roughly half of the rounds of this championship take place here at Anglesey, the other half at Alton Park in Cheshire, and it's a real stalwart of northwest motorsport in the UK is the XR Challenge, and hugely popular still. Great racing, as you can see. It's all very, very close indeed, and not much to choose. Tight regulations, meaning the cars are all very evenly matched indeed. The drivers are all pretty evenly matched as well. And we're seeing here that Greg Spate and Steve Poole are running very close together indeed in their fight for fourth position here. Down through the corkscrew they come. And it looks as though Steve Poole, for the time being, is going to have to settle in behind. Well, as part of our 25th anniversary celebrations here at Anglesey, we're going to hear from several people who know this place better than most. Starting off with BRSCC official Ken Tyra.
Ken, you've got some fantastic memories of the circuit here, going back to your first visit in 1993, I believe.
Yes, it was 1993 when it was a rallycross and a rally circuit. At that time, there used to be farmers. The animals used to actually walk all over the circuit, so the night before the farmer had to herd his cows up and put them in a shed that was literally at the side of the track.
I guess that was quite interesting as well, going round and making sure that there weren't certain other things that animals had left around the circuit.
Oh yes, there was very often little presents left. And during the rallycross, or the racing as you can call it in rallycross, you could hear the cows creating, because obviously they were all in a confined space, not very happy with where they were, because they wanted to be out munching the grass.
Added to the fact they also had the loud noise of these rallycross cars going past them.
Yes, if they were trying to go asleep, they had no chance. They'd be kept awake. I had a favourite marshalling spot, which was at the top of a bit of a straight, and as they got to the top of the straight, the cars would turn right onto a U-turn, onto a hairpin, and straight into gravel. So it was a very interesting spot to marshal at. I have a few memories of being there. I remember once the stage was going, and this pigeon just came and landed right in the middle of the circuit. And it didn't flinch. Cars were going past it until one car actually went directly over the top of it. The pigeon sort of like disappeared down the middle and just reappeared after the car had gone, looking totally shocked. Its feathers were everywhere, and it literally staggered off the circuit. It couldn't fly.
So, in your time, as you say, when you first came here, it was a rallycross and rallying circuit, and now we see a fantastic, fully asphalted circuit, completely different design to how it was then. You've seen a lot of changes. What are your thoughts of the circuit now and where it's going in the future?
The circuit is absolutely beautiful. It must be one of the most picturesque circuits you could ever see.
Well, that's great to hear from Ken, one of the most familiar faces within the BRSCC paddock here in Anglesey. And as he said, this place has changed almost beyond belief since those early days. It's now a state-of-the-art circuit, top-class facilities, and always provides great racing as well. For this man, Michael Heath, though, it's about to provide him not his first race win here at Anglesey, but his first of the weekend. He's pulled a nice gap over Mark Robinson throughout the second half of this race, and he is now less than a lap away from a race victory here at the circuit that he has always gone particularly well at. Multiple champion in the past, Michael Heath, and he looks set to notch up another race victory here today. So out of the corkscrew comes Michael Heath then. He's about to see the checkered flag. A very, very comfortable margin, but he had to defend like mad in those early laps, didn't he, to keep Mark Robinson at bay. But it will be Michael Heath who wins race one for the electrovape.co.uk Ford XR Challenge. Mark Robinson is second and extends his championship lead. Third place and a win within the XR3 portion of the race goes the way of Michael Blackburn, and it will be, I think, Greg Spate just about ahead of Lee Shropshire in fourth place. There's confirmation of the result then. Heath takes the win and the fastest lap to boot as well. Mark Robinson second, Michael Blackburn third, Greg Spate fourth, Lee Shropshire in fifth ahead of Tony Mumford, Matthew Eldridge, and then the other two XR3s, Peter Peters and Matthew Spencer. We lost Justin Robertson, Christopher Rowlands, and Steve Poole was excluded for his car being underweight on post-race scrutineering checks.
Michael, a fantastic victory here at Anglesey on the 25th anniversary weekend. How are you feeling?
Speechless, absolutely superb, amazing. Yeah, to be fair to the old car, it's gone well again, so yeah, good. And the weather stayed dry.
And a brilliant getaway as well.
Yeah, Mark had a good start next to us, and I thought he'd just pit me going into the bank in here, but just managed to hang on to it on the outside of him and just slowly progressed really from there, and just kept my head down and kept going and going and going.
Mark, looked like you had a great start going into the first couple of corners, but maybe it wasn't quite enough.
No, it was a good start. I thought maybe it was going to be a closer match, but it's his performance this weekend is fair enough. Fair play. He's driving really well. I just couldn't match him in the dry.
Mike, fantastic third place, and of course a class win in the XR3s.
Yeah, it's funny when you're fighting out there. You don't feel like you're in a different class. I'm out there to win overall, but both Mark and Mike too quick for me today. Greg was thereabouts, but seemed to slow down at the end, give me third place back, but I just didn't have the pace. Really abused the tyres. They started to go off. The engine doesn't sound sweet. So I've got a whole list of excuses, but at the end of the day, Mike and Mark were just quicker than me.
And of course this weekend it's the 25th anniversary of the Anglesey circuit. It's a great place to be racing at. How have you felt being here?
Love it here. It's a real, some corners are a real challenge, and a real buzz when you get them right. Even when I knew Mark was too far in front and Greg had given me space behind, I just kept pushing because I just enjoy the circuit. So I just kept pushing and enjoying myself.
Andrew, with you here in the main hub of the Anglesey circuit, and it's amazing to think what has happened here in the last 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've only been a full-time employee of the race circuit for the last 10 years, but prior to that I was actually doing the accounts at Bedorgan Estate, so I've been here for 17 of those 25 years, and as you say, it is really quite amazing the way that the place has developed. When I started here, we had a 1.057 mile long circuit, and now here we are more than double that length at 2.1 miles for the international circuit. So yeah, that was a big start. And then of course the control tower, the building that we're in right now, this has been here for 5 years as well, and that's made an immense difference to the midweek trade that we get, the midweek testing and the media work that we get. That has increased phenomenally since we invested in this £800,000 complex.
As you say, it's been a fantastic investment, and what we see here at the circuit, the facilities are unbelievable. Looking ahead at what might happen and going forward with circuit plans, as you say, there's a lot of media interest, a lot of testing, and of course things like track days, really big part of the circuit's business.
Yes, one of the things that we're actually trying to do at the moment is to develop the track day business, but diversifying in some ways also. We have started doing rally track days, because North Wales, or Wales in general, is predominantly a rallying kind of area. And that has proven to be quite popular initially, and we're also starting to develop single-seater track days as well, because of course lots of single-seaters can't get out on regular track days. There's also the issue of needing to have an MSA race license to go out on test days. So we have taken that hurdle out of the way as well. So, and hopefully that will start to develop a little bit within the next year or two.
What's really good about Anglesey is the circuit layout and the variety of circuit configurations that are available. Is that something that you find is useful when people are looking at coming to do events here?
Yes, today for instance with the BRSCC here, we've got most of the race classes on the coastal circuit, but with the larger grid for the National Formula Fords wearing on the international circuit. Similarly, when the BARC came here a few weeks ago, we were running the CNC heads on the longer circuit. With track days similarly, a lot of the car track day operators will run on the international circuit in the morning, and then we'll flip over to the coastal circuit to give the drivers a little bit of variety in the afternoon.
Well, speaking of variety, you can always guarantee that North Wales will give you a real variety of weather. We've got now very heavy rain for our Brickcover National Formula 4 1600 Championship race. Luke Cooper and Jane Foster on row 1, with Luke Williams the championship leader on row 2 alongside Jamie Thorburn. Then it's Ross Martin and Josh Smith, Neil McLennan, Michael Eastwell, Keith Donegan and James Rowe Jr. rounding out the top 10. This will be a race that takes place over the full international circuit, so we'll get to see the longest of the circuit layouts here in Anglesey in use for this one, and in these sort of conditions that will be an extra challenge for all of the drivers. This is the penultimate race of the season for this National Formula Ford Championship. It's a big entry, 27 cars lining up on the grid, and we're ready to go racing. Away we go, the red lights go out, we're off in abysmal conditions, but Luke Cooper has a decent view from pole position here on the inside line down towards turn 1, but there goes Joey Foster sweeping round his outside. Joey Foster takes the lead, Cooper into second place, then diving up the inside in car 0 is Josh Smith from 6th on the grid, and he's challenging for second place. They go through the banking, a real variety of lines being taken through that very slippery right-hander, and then they head down to the even more treacherous Church Corner. Michael McPherson we're on board with here in his Ray GR14, and you can see visibility almost 0 as he turns his way through Church Corner, but Josh Smith has got second place, and he's now going after Joey Foster as they go up the back straight, side by side, wheel to wheel in towards the braking zone. Josh Smith to the outside, Foster to the inside, who we're on board with now, also in a Ray. Look at the standing water under braking, but they're just about going to get the car stopped, and Foster stays in front. There is Luke Cooper in third place. Luke Williams is on the brink of the championship in car number 95. The red car not far behind, so keep an eye out for Luke Williams. He only really needs a solid finish in this one, and he'll become national champion. So he is looking for just a clean race, really. There's Matt Garrido, one of the front runners within the Northern Championship that we'll see racing later. The leading two turn their way through the left-hander, and now we're on to the Tom Price Straight, the long international section of the circuit. It's essentially two straights with a hairpin at the end, but this hairpin is one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit, so we'll see if anyone uses that as a chance to get through here. Onto the brakes they go, they turn through the right-hander, there goes Luke Williams through the shot. There is Keith Donegan going up the inside of Neil McLennan, who is one of the championship contenders, Neil McLennan, but he just lost a place there at the top of the hill. Heading down now towards the final corner, the bus stop, and lots of understeer as they all try and get the cars stopped in what is a very slippery part of the circuit. Oh, and that's Matt Garrido. Matt Garrido is off, and I think that's Jamie Thorburn, it's Michael Eastwell who's gone with him. So two cars off in separate incidents there. There's damage, unfortunately, to Matt Garrido's suspension. And also off, James Rowe Jr. there is rotated coming out of the corner. So the bus stop catching 3 drivers out there in 3 completely separate incidents. So drama aplenty. There's Ross Martin, car number 11, slithering and sliding his way through in 5th position on board with Josh Smith, and look at the understeer as he turns through Church Corner. There is 0 grip out there right now. Anyone who is staying on the road is doing a marvellous job indeed. Here's this battle that's going on then for 4th position as they make their way up the back straight. Luke Williams it is, car number 95, just there, championship leader who's leading this group. Ross Martin with Jamie Thorburn, I think that is, in behind him. Hard to see through the spray, isn't it? But Luke Williams we can see there, number 95. Running a bit wide there over the grass at the top of the hill. He might just have to relinquish this 4th position to Ross Martin. Let's have a look. Ross Martin trying to draw alongside, but can't quite do it. The 50 car of Jamie Thorburn buys into it all as well. Typical Formula 4 1600 racing this, despite the filthy conditions. They continue to put on a show. And this Anglesey circuit, the layout of the international circuit in particular, is one that really does promote great racing. There are lots of overtaking opportunities, and in the wet, in some ways, that actually opens up even more opportunities to get past, because you can use different lines to try and find some grip and traction and find a way through. On board with Jake Byrne here as we head down towards the end of the another lap. Let's have a word with Ronnie Roberts, who is an MSA scrutineer, and he has many fond memories of this Anglesey circuit as well.
When I first came here, it was in the very late 60s, early 70s, the local motor club had auto tests on the parade ground, which were brilliant. Of course, we couldn't have many. Then it all stopped, and from a chance conversation with club member Ned Jones, who thought that perhaps we could run road rallies, stage rallies at this site. And of course, with Ned being a tenant, progressed through this. Eventually, we started having proper stage rallies here. And this was in the old configuration. And that was quite a favourite with many people. Of course, there was rough tracks, curbs, gateways, holes through hedges, bit on grass. And it was great, and I enjoyed it, but we never ever thought that we could have such a facility in North Wales. Well, of course, it was very good, but things have to progress and develop, and certainly racing came in, and we started racing on the old circuit after we knocked down a few curbs and buildings and this, that and the other, and it was very successful. It was great. Again, we never ever thought we could get a racing circuit in North Wales. I think when the new development, it came in with Objective 1 funding, and again, we never ever thought we'd get Objective 1 funding in North Wales, let alone for a race circuit. And it developed, and here we are now. And we're quite fortunate that every year there is a little bit more development, something new. It gets better, and of course this is what we have now. It's a fantastic circuit. It really is fantastic. Very smooth, very wide, plenty of runoff areas. We've never had any severe accidents other than rolling into a ditch, into a wall. That's neither here nor there really. But I find it a very, very safe circuit indeed.
It certainly is, and that gives the drivers plenty of confidence to really race hard around this place, and that's what we've seen all the way through this Britcover National Formula Ford 1600 Championship race so far. We're on board with Jake Byrne here, heading down in towards the top of the corkscrew. And he is right in the thick of some of the midfield battles. Number 65 there, Jack Wolfenden, turning his way through. This is the fight for the race lead. Now, Josh Smith has not let Joey Foster escape with this one by any means. Joey Foster is having to work very hard to keep hold of the lead of this race. Jake Byrne here also still battling away as he makes his way through the hairpin on the international layout here. One of the widest circuits, in fact, in the UK, this Anglesey circuit. It's the same width all the way round as well, so there are no bottlenecks, there are no parts of the circuit that are slightly narrower than others, but the circuit not quite wide enough there for Luke Cooper. Luke Cooper slithering off the road. I think that's up at the banking, isn't it? That's the championship leader and champion-elect having a bit of a moment there. Even he getting caught out by the conditions slightly. So, leaders make their way up the school straight. There is Joey Foster. There is the zero car of Joshua Smith. He made that brilliant start. Got away with Joey, but then hasn't really been able to find a way through, has he? Joey Foster just appears to have this one covered from all angles, but can maybe Josh Smith prise the door open in the latter stages of the race? There's a mighty scrap going on for third place between Luke Cooper and Keith Donegan, by the way, who's been up and down a little bit in this race, but he's now challenging for a third place finish. So there's great dicing up and down the entire field. Joey Foster on a real clinic here, showing exactly how to negotiate this circuit in very slippery conditions. And of course, this part of the circuit, the international layout, not used quite as often as the rest of the circuit, so for a lot of the drivers, they are maybe learning it as they go. This wide line is taken into the hairpin there. The grip is on the outside of the road in these conditions, so that's why they're not necessarily bothering to hit every apex. Back down in towards the final corner. There's the battle going on for third in the background, by the way, so you can see the Keith Donegan's just dropped back slightly from Luke Cooper on this lap. The gap keeps ebbing and flowing. Back out across the start-finish line, and the checkers flag is ready. So, a win for Joey Foster. He takes the first victory of the day ahead of Josh Smith in second, Luke Cooper third with Keith Donegan fourth, and Jake Byrne fifth. Then it's Jamie Thorburn, Rory Smith, Jason Cooper, Neil McLennan and James Rowe Jr. despite his first lap spin. Abdul Ahmed and Ryan Campbell are next ahead of Michael East, as well Luke Williams and Andrew Blair, but 14th place for Luke Williams is just enough for him to wrap up the National Formula Ford 1600 Championship. We lost Ross Martin and Matt Rangorino, but everyone put on a great show in far from perfect conditions.
Well, to begin with, of course, it was a derelict army camp after the MOD left, and it first of all started with a rally car being tested, and then the Carnarvon Anglesey Motor Club ran the stage rally, and then some of the buildings were demolished and the Whittle 100 ran a motorcycle race, and then we demolished a few more buildings and made the what were the perimeter roads of the army camp, profiled a few of the corners and added a bit to it and made the original T-Croix circuit, which that lasted up from 1997 to 2007. During the winter of 2006-2007, we completely dug it all up and started from scratch, which at the time was quite an ambitious thing to do, but I think it was, we've never lost any sleep over it. It was certainly the right decision, rather than just putting an extension on and everything would have been a compromise. So it's grown a bit every year, and we're having successful events of all types.
Well, I've been filming here since those army camp days, and I remember doing some of those old rallies. But I mean, it is a thoroughly modern circuit now, isn't it?
Oh yes, we've tried to move with the times. One of the advantages we have, where motorcycle riders and car drivers appreciate, is so many circuits are ex-military airfields, and they tend to be similar. They're naturally very flat. I wouldn't go as far to say boring, but this has all the different undulations and uphills and downhills and corners that fall away from you. But we've managed to incorporate that with plenty of runoff, and so it's very popular with the competitors because it's exciting, but they don't usually hit anything. Do occasionally, but not the rule.
Well, the racing continues here at Anglesey for the 25th anniversary weekend, and this time it's the Northern Formula Ford 1600 Championship that takes to the track. The championship has been visiting the circuit since 1997 and has raced on both configurations. It's now over to Andy to take you through what promises to be a very exciting race.
So yes, more Formula Ford action, this time from the Northern Championship. There are many of the same drivers competing in this and the National Series though. So it's Matt Rangarido and Josh Smith on the front row, both championship contenders. Rory Smith and Hamish McAllister make up row 2, ahead of Jaap Leven, who is in the first of the older pre-1990 cars, and several of those throughout the field will be ones to watch. And it is always a tight battle within the pre-90s as well as the overall post-89s. One car to watch for from the back of the grid, number 55, Luciano Carvalho, right in the mix for the championship, but retired from the first race of the weekend, so he's got work to do in the second encounter. Well, Josh Smith, who starts on the outside of row 1, he has already had drama, a spin on the green flag lap, so he has given himself quite the scare, but no damage done, and he will line up on the outside of row number 1. He moved into the championship lead after issues for Carvalho yesterday, but Matt Rangarido's race win has given him pole position for this one and has kept him right in the hunt. It's a three-way battle with one race here today and a final couple of rounds at Alton Park in a few weeks' time to settle the championship. So 5-second board is held aloft. Damp and greasy conditions for this one, but not quite as wet as we saw for the National Formula Ford race earlier on. And away we go, and it's a good start made by Josh Smith from the outside of row 1. Matt Rangarido comes across to try and block him. He puts him on the grass almost. 2 hours on the grass for Josh Smith, and Josh Smith spins in front of the pack, and somehow they all miss him. So Josh Smith, well, he'd already had a spin on the green flag lap, and now more drama, but he continues. It's way down the order, but thankfully no real damage done apart from a hole in the nose cone, and he will be well and truly fired up. There's another car off there, which is number 67. That is George McDonald, who started 6th on the grid, but he's lost quite a bit of ground as well. He'll rejoin right at the back of the field. Well, that was a dramatic start, wasn't it? Matt Rangarido and Josh Smith, first and second in the championship, and they've come together right at the first corner. That's Juicy Brucey, that's Bruce Evans having a spin. Juicy Brucey, as he's affectionately known, and he's rotated to Church Corner. These conditions, I mentioned they're not quite as wet as we saw for the national race earlier on, but in some ways the drivers prefer the full wet conditions, because when it's sort of damp and greasy and in the middle, they don't really know what the grip level is going to be. The tyres don't work quite as efficiently as they would do with a bit more standing water, and they tend to overheat as the race goes on. So lots of factors for the drivers to consider here. It's a 20-minute race, so they've got to manage the tyres to an extent. The U-Clan car there is Jaap Leven, the KLM airline pilot, who is the lead pre-1990 car in this race. He turns his way back down through the corkscrew. He's in behind the number 10 car of Hamish McAllister, who runs way wide through the middle part of the corkscrew into the final left-hander at the bus stop, and he just about hangs on to the position. So back down the pit straight they will go, and in towards turn 1. That black car behind them is Josh Smith, recovering from his spin right here a lap ago. Looked like he made a good start, tried to drive around the outside of Matt Rangarido, and Matt just didn't leave him really all that much room, did he? But Smith charging back up the inside. Jaap Leven nearly slides off the track altogether. Josh Smith will, yes, just about go through into what is 4th place. So all things considered, that could have been a lot worse, couldn't it, considering he was pointing backwards into the first corner with several other cars bearing down, and Josh Smith has continued in 2nd place. Well, it's time now to have a chat with someone who knows this place better than most, the circuit manager of the Anglesey circuit, Andrew Crichton.
Andrew, you're a fairly recent addition to this circuit, aren't you? Yeah, you've not been here for very long.
No, I arrived last July 2016. But having said that, as a member of the staff here, yes, I'm fairly new, but I've been a customer of the circuit since 1999. I've been coming up here and doing quite a lot of instructing work and racing as well. So I've seen the change in the circuit and the way the whole venue's developed.
And I've seen you at many circuits around over the past few years. Our paths constantly cross. So, what attracted you to Anglesey?
Anglesey, the circuit, the whole philosophy here. Richard Peacock, of course, created the circuit, and back in the early days of T-Cars, if you remember T-Cars back in 1999, I actually had a kart circuit at the time, which I developed down in Surrey, and I had a lot of young drivers coming out of the kart circuit who wanted to go on and do more racing, and cars was the next step forward. I got involved in T-Cars in '99, and by 2001 I was running pretty much half the grid as a race team. We created Advent Motorsport, and I needed somewhere to be able to teach the youngsters. You can drive around a 1,000-metre kart circuit all day long, teaching them to change gear, but it's not the real thing, is it? So I've discovered that at Anglesey, Richard had a very similar philosophy to the whole way of teaching that I did down with in Surrey with the karting. So it made logical sense to sort of team up a little bit. Richard was very encouraging for me to bring T-car drivers here, so that's precisely what we did. I got to know the circuit as a result, and I got to know the people here accordingly. And one thing just led to another, and in 2016 I found myself here.
And Andrew Crichton has done a fantastic job in the past 12 months or so of developing the circuit ever further, giving us the track that we know and love today. This is Josh Smith, and the Oldfield driver has managed to work his way back through the field remarkably into the race lead. So after that contact and spin at the first corner, he has found a way up into the lead of the race. He's now amongst the back markers. These are all pre-1990 cars, the old cars in the race that are slipping a lap down, and it is still Yablai Laven who leads in the pre-90s. Bruce Evans, who also had a spin on the first lap, I remember, who's just on a lap down there, the white and yellow car, is second of the pre-1990s. He's with Josh Smith, the OldfieldAutos.com run car, with damaged nose cone and all, is still looking good for, remarkably, a race victory, and a race victory that will give him a relatively healthy championship lead as well, with 2 races to go at Alton Park. So things are going well for Josh Smith here this weekend. The Anglesey circuit for the Northern Championship, a bit like we saw with the XR Challenge earlier on. The majority of these events take place at Anglesey and Alton Park. This final Anglesey meeting of the year, always an important one as far as the championship's concerned. So back out of the final corner they go. Josh Smith comes across the start-finish line and onto another lap. There, the pre-1990 Oldfield run machine makes its way through as well. Oldfield, one of the top teams within the Northern Formula 4 1600 Championship. And you can see now the track is definitely drying. It's not quite bone dry yet. It's a bit damp, it's a bit greasy, but it's certainly slightly more favourable than it was at the start of the race, when I think the in-between conditions just caught a few people out. But pre-1990 battle going a lap down there again to the overall race leader, making its way up the hill towards the Rocket Complex. Josh Smith has also, by the way, set the fastest lap in this race, so he is well and truly on it here this afternoon. Man who, like all these drivers, very, very familiar with the Anglesey circuit, and I think he's going to be an even bigger fan of it after this race victory, isn't he? You can see how much fun it is, though, to drive this circuit. One of the comments we've heard an awful lot today is that the drivers feel safe here. There's lots of run-off area. The track itself is nice and wide as well, and so the drivers, more so here than perhaps any other circuit, certainly in the north of the country, they feel that they can push and they can really explore the limits in a safe environment. And Josh Smith, one of many drivers who have grown accustomed to being able to really enjoy themselves here at Anglesey, comes out of the final corner, and this time he sees the checkered flag. So Josh Smith wins the Northern Formula 4 1600 race for Post 89 cars. Second place will be Matt Round-Garrido, but some 11.8 seconds back. There we can see confirmation of the results. So Smith from Matt Round-Garrido, the top 2. Rory Smith is 3rd, ahead of Luciano Carvalho. Yablai Laven is 5th, and he was the top pre-90 car, ahead of Hamish McAllister, Andrew Thomas and Alan Williamson. Juicy Brucey was the second pre-90 car, then Kevin Donnelly rounds out the top 10, with Scott Rawlinson rounding out the podium finishes amongst the pre-1990 competitors. But the battling up and down the order was very, very close in that race, certainly up until the last couple of laps, and Josh Smith completes quite the comeback drive from spinning at the first corner. He takes a win, he takes the championship lead, and he is looking very strong this weekend.
Josh, tough conditions out there for the Northern Formula Ford 1600 race.
Yeah, it was really tough, to be honest. Quite greasy, but to be honest, most of the testing was in that condition, so I was fairly comfortable with the car. The car's doing obviously very well, so I couldn't really fault it. All I had to do was do my bit.
Yeah, congratulations on your class victory here. Conditions out there a little bit slippery though.
Oh yeah, it was very, very greasy, like it was yesterday. When it's proper wet, then there seemed to be more grip, but now when it's drying out, it's grease. So it's very spectacular, I think, for the spectators, and very intense for us.
Margaret, thank you for taking the time to speak to us in what is a very busy day from the Wirral 100 Club. The circuit's celebrating its 25th anniversary this weekend, and the Wirral 100 has had such a fantastic history. What can you remember about the times here?
The times when we first started, when we had the circuit, the track itself was about 12 feet wide. We didn't have sidecars because it was just not big enough. The grid, we had, I think, 12 riders. There was trees and curbs and posts that you wouldn't believe. But when Dave and my husband Steve came to see it, we saw the potential, and that's where it's come from. And it's just been unbelievable what the circuit, the management and Sir George and all the staff, they're absolutely brilliant. And it is just unbelievable what's happening in 25 years.
It is, you know, it's had such an amazing development over that period, probably more so than any other circuit outside of Silverstone. And you look at where it is now and where people are coming to. It's great, and you must have so many interesting stories.
Yeah, there are so many. I mean, but maybe when I retire, I'll write a book about all the stories and the tales of riders, and it's just wonderful. It really is.
Well, as we heard then, the Wirral 100 Bike Club are here this weekend, helping make this 25th anniversary Anglesey meeting all the more unique. Their Formula 600 Open Series putting on a pair of races. Here's how they line up for the first one. 3 bikes per row, as is customary for bike racing. So Barry Daimler took the pole position, alongside Simon Napier and Colin Irwin on row 1. Jamie Harris, Jamie Devine and Josh Jones on row 2, with Carl Jones, Chris Eden and Nathan Harris making the third row. Row 4 for Chris Jones, Chris Watson and Owen Collins. Row 5, Leon Worsley, Stuart Dawson and James Evans, with Kevin Baker, Aaron Hans and Nick Powley on row 6. Row 7, Jake Wall and Andrew Cullen. Now, qualifying took place in very wet conditions this morning. Now the conditions are a little more favourable, although still damp and greasy, so this could catch a few out in the early going. We'll see who has the confidence in the conditions. As the red lights go out, away we go. Who makes the best start? Looks like Jamie Harris made a good start there on the black number 96 bike, sweeping around the outside, but from the pole position, it is going to be Barry Daimler that leads them down towards the banking for the first time. Harris has come through into second place. Third place looks like it's Simon Napier, and then Jamie Devine there in fourth place, the white bike with the red wheels. They turn their way now back through the banking and up towards Church Corner for the first time. Kawasaki's to the fore as they turn through Church for the first time. This very quick right-hander. Oh, and Jamie Devine is down. He lost the rear there, the bike high-sided, and he slithers out of the race. So Jamie Devine, after a really good start, unfortunately has thrown it all the way down at Church Corner. I said the conditions might catch him out. So there's Daimler, change for second place as Simon Napier gets up the inside of Jamie Harris there. So Simon Napier, who started second on the grid, he's now back into second place. Jamie Harris was the real storming starter, but he's back down into third position now as the rest of them file their way through. Good battling going on further back. That's Chris Jones there on the number 33 Kawasaki. Bulk of the field, Kawasaki's and Yamahas, a few Hondas and Suzuki's in there as well. But the Kawasaki's definitely seem to be the bike to have at the moment, as they sweep their way now back through the corkscrew for the first time of asking. And it is going to be Simon Napier. Then that is in second place. It is Barry Daimler, though, that has the race lead. So from pole position, Barry doing a good job so far. Doesn't seem to have been phased by the slight change in conditions from qualifying. There is Simon Napier, though, and he's going after him, I think, isn't he? Simon Napier starting to bridge the gap maybe slightly to the race leader. Jamie Harris not quite able to go with them there in third place, but these three have definitely broken away from the rest of the field. Back through Church they go then. So and off, that's Daimler. Barry Daimler has gone off now as well, and in a fairly substantial way. He's up and he's okay, but the bike is not, and Barry Daimler from the race lead is out of it. So that now means that Simon Napier and Jamie Harris enjoy a very comfortable margin over the rest of the field. Up in towards the Rocket Complex they go, and Simon Napier all of a sudden finds himself in the race lead with two of the pre-race favourites throwing it at the scenery down at Church Corner. It's remarkably easy to do that. We can either tuck the front through that right-hander, especially when it's greasy, or on the power lose the rear, and that's what happened of course to Jamie Devine on the first lap of the race. But this is now the battle for the lead then. Napier from Harris, two Kawasaki's, both 1600cc of course, as all of the bikes in this class are, and it looks now likely, as long as they can both keep it on the island, like one of these two is going to take the win in this first leg of the Wirral 100 Formula 600 race. But which one will it be? Back through the first corner they go. Here's some battling going on behind the orange and red car there. That's Josh Jones, and he is closing in here on the 22 bike of Chris Eden. So Chris Eden on his Kawasaki. Josh Jones, though, is the top Honda in the race, and he looks to get a good run there out of the banking up towards Church Corner. Getting challenged on the way in here. It's very difficult to pass through there. He'll try and get a better exit from the corner, though, will Josh, and maybe drag alongside at the score straight. That's exactly what he's doing. He pulls alongside, and they are wheel to wheel as they go up the hill. Inside line for the braking zone, well, was held briefly by Chris Eden, but Josh Jones at the very last second sells him a dummy and dives back to the inside. So a beautiful move that was from Josh Jones, and he picks up another position. So Josh on the Honda seeming to get more and more confident as the race goes on and as he learns more and more about the conditions. Well, it's time then for another interview, and this time with the Deputy Secretary of the meeting for the Wirral 100 Club, Lynn Francis, on her thoughts regarding the Anglesey circuit.
Lynn, it's great having bikes here at the Anglesey 25th anniversary event as well as the cars, and the Wirral 100 Motor Club has had such long association with the circuit.
Yes, indeed, we ran the first meeting ever, and we ran the last meeting on the old circuit before they blew most of it up, and the first meeting on the new circuit. So we feel quite a special affinity to it. You know, it's almost sort of personal. It feels like part of our family, if you like.
And as you say, the club has seen all of the changes that have happened here from day one, and looking at the circuit today with the bikes out there, it's been great to watch.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, you know, a lot of credit needs to go to the estate because the investment they've made here and the vision they've shown. It's very special, all the different corners, the way they link up. I've been round most of the circuits in the country, and it definitely, as a track, I think is one of the best you can find. Must be very exciting to ride.
And over those 25 years, I'm sure that you've seen some funny incidences and got many stories from your time here.
Yes, I mean, it's hard to just drag them up, isn't it, when you think about it, but we've had great variety, and, you know, people's triumphs and hopes have been dashed. I mean, all the motor racing things that you can imagine, really, but you know, it's touch wood, it's been a very safe circuit, and we haven't had many days that, you know, you feel a bit. So, you know, no, it's always been a good experience. Our riders are a lovely bunch, and we just have a really good weekend, and we get a lot of support from the circuit staff themselves. They make it very easy for us, and obviously this meeting is quite special for all of us. It's very different, whether you're a car person or a bike person. It's quite interesting seeing the other side, but actually we're all the same.
Well, it's been great to have the Wirral 100 Club here this weekend. They put on a great show in slightly tricky conditions, it's got to be said, but we are now on to the final lap of the race, and this is still the battle for the race lead. Simon Napier and Jamie Harris, they pulled a huge gap, some 30-odd seconds ahead of the rest of the field, but these two are still circulating within a few bike lengths of each other, and have been for the entire duration of this 12-lap race, down towards Church Corner, in amongst the traffic, and Jamie Harris there has a little peek up the inside into Church Corner. That's where we saw all the drama earlier on with Jamie Devine and Barry Barry Daimlow's fault. That marker will do its best to stay out of the way, I'm sure. They're going to sweep past it to the outside on the run up towards Rocket Corner, and it doesn't seem to delay either of them too much. Jamie Harris having a last little look at the inside. Oh, he was late on the brakes then. I thought he was going to try and use that to his advantage and find a way through into the race lead, but he's fast running out of opportunities. There are 4 more corners to go, but it's very difficult to pass through the corkscrew, so this next right-hander appeal is crucial. Harris closing right back in on Simon Napier here, but Simon has defended beautifully all race long. Jamie Harris has never really found a way to ruffle his feathers and find a way through. And it looks as though Simon Napier, barring any last-minute dramas, he's on his way to victory in this first race. He does run a bit wide there though, so Jamie Harris will try to get a better run out of the final corner. It's going to be a close run thing, but Simon Napier wins the first race of the day here for the World 100 Formula 600 by 0.2 of a second, showing just how close the racing is around this circuit. It is perfectly suited to both 4 and 2-wheeled action. So Napier and Harris win. It's Josh Jones who gets the better of Chris and Carl Jones in 3rd, 4th and 5th respectively. Owen Collins is 6th, Chris Eden 7th, Nathan Harris 8th, Chris Watson 9th, and Liam Worsley in 10th. Of course, we did lose Barry Daimlow and Jamie Devine to accidents early on, and also Colin Irwin pulled into the pit lane. He also unfortunately failed to reach the finish on this World 100 Formula 600 race at Anglesey. But a great addition to the programme, been fantastic to have them here, and they really did put on quite a show.
Managed to come away with a fantastic victory.
Plan was to get out in the front, try and get a bit of a steady lead and keep a good pace right to the end. Had a bit of a competition off Harris there. He kept on my tail most of the way and he made the most of the back markers, but I managed to get back past him and keep it for the win.
Jamie, a tough race out there, but you came away with a well-deserved 2nd place.
Yeah, it was tough. The conditions weren't ideal, obviously, but you just got to. It's the same for everyone, so yeah, I enjoyed it though. It's like challenging, so I like a challenge.
Josh, it looked like you had a little bit of a lonely race out there, but congratulations on your 3rd place.
Yeah, it was really good. It's one of the first times out in the wet for me, so just getting new to it. Noticed I got a bit of a gap and then just took it easy from then on in.
Didn't feel that there was enough speed to go and challenge the guys in front?
Nah, not fast enough for them. My bike's too old for that, but they were well clear, so I was on my own and really enjoyed it and just wanted to keep the pace going, not mess up.
No, and it's been great having bikes here alongside the cars for the 25th anniversary weekend.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable, to be honest. It's first time for us, well, especially first time for me. But yeah, it's really good watching like the Fun Cup and stuff like that, and plus us to be involved as well. It's really good.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations once again on your 3rd place.
Yeah, thank you.
And that wraps up the coverage of this very special 25th anniversary programme from Anglesey. We hope you've enjoyed it, and here's to many more races here over the next 25 years.